Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special meeting of the Paso Robles City Council for Monday, August the 8th. Mayor Steve Martin speaking. Before we get going, I'd like to read the following. City has returned to hybrid public meetings pursuant to AB 361, which allows for a deviation from the teleconference rules required by the Ralph M. Brown Act. Residents now have the option to attend the meeting in person or to participate remotely. To participate remotely or live stream the meeting at www.prcity.com/YouTube and call 805-865-7276 to provide public comment via phone. The phone line will open just prior to the start of the meeting and remain open throughout the meeting to ensure the opportunity to comment on each item heard by the council. Written public comments can be submitted via email to cityclerk@prcity.com prior to 12 noon on the day of the council meeting to be posted as an addendum to the agenda. If submitting written comments in advance of the meeting, please note the agenda item by number or name. City Council meetings will be live streamed during the meeting and also available for playback later on YouTube by accessing the following link, www.prcity.com/YouTube. With that, I'll call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Gregory?
Here.
Councilmember Hammond?
Here.
Councilmember Strong? Is not present. Mayor Martin?
Present. Mayor Strong has been delayed. We understand he'll be here in a few minutes, so we are going to carry on. If you would join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance. With me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As usual, we like to give a few minutes so we can introduce the people who are on staff and potentially on advisory committees in attendance tonight. We'll go around the room. If you fit that bill, we invite you to give your name and your affiliation with the city. Starting on my right.
Good evening, Chris Hewitt, Assistant City Manager.
Melissa Boyer, City Clerk, joined by Shauna Howenstein, Civic Engagement Coordinator, and Karen Jackson, IT Technician.
Ditas? Ty Lewis, City Manager.
Elizabeth Hull, City Attorney.
Thank you very much. Public comment. Public comment at a special city council meeting is relegated to only the items on the agenda tonight. So we don't have a general public comment session. We're going to move right into our agenda. Our discussion item number 1 is city council vacancy and the process to fill that city council vacancy. Staff report, please.
Get this turned on. So as you're all aware, Councilmember Garcia has resigned her seat. And so it places you in the position of making a decision as to how you want to proceed. You have a couple of choices as outlined in the staff report. You can call a special election. You can appoint someone, or you could leave the seat vacant. As outlined in the staff report, I can't recommend calling a special election in this case. There's a 114-day period for an election to be called. This seat is up for at the general election in November, and so the special election would become moot by the time we got around to getting it called. But if you want to, you still could. I just don't recommend that. Your second option would be to appoint someone. There is no process outlined in the law for what that looks like. So you can appoint someone tonight. You can call another special meeting after you've held interviews or to hold interviews. You can do pretty much anything you want as long as, it's due process and fair. And then finally, the statute doesn't allow for it, but you could choose not to fill the seat because the next election is so close on the heels of when you would be appointing someone. The statute doesn't authorize it, but it doesn't prohibit it. If you were to leave it empty, really the only thing someone could do would be to file a writ to compel you to appoint someone or call a special election. But that process would come right up against the election itself. So we don't see tremendous risk if the council chose not to appoint. So what I would suggest is you're down to really 2 viable options. Appointing someone and either creating an interview process or however you want to handle that, or leaving it blank, leaving the seat empty until the election in November. and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that Councilman Strong has arrived and is seated. We have 4 council members present. With that, I'll ask if there are any questions of staff from council. Mr. Hammond?
Elizabeth, and with particular in regard to the actual election itself, we only have 5 days till closure on Friday. What if no one takes out papers and qualifies in that period of time?
So if no one takes out papers, the seat will still stay on the ballot because we have another citywide proposition on. If we didn't have any citywide propositions on, then that seat would come off the ballot and you would be in a position to appoint someone. But because we do have a citywide measure on, that seat would stay on. There's a write-in possibility. And so someone could write in as a candidate after the 5-day period, the 12th, when the application period expires.
Right. Got it. That's all I have.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yep.
Mr. Strong?
Yes, my question actually would be for Melissa, our city clerk, to find out, has anybody from District 2 pulled papers to actually run in this election?
I have had an individual pull papers, but not return anything yet.
Not return it.
So there's nothing official for District 2 at
But
this time.
there is a potential to actually have.
There is the potential, but nothing official.
Thank you. Only one?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Gregory?
Yeah, Elizabeth, just a couple of questions for clarification. So if we were to decide to appoint somebody, it'd be an at-large appointment, so that they don't have to be from Maria's district, correct?
That is correct. It is still an at-large seat until after the November election.
And is there any time restrictions for us? Say if we decide we want to go that way, could we set up an interview or a meeting a week from Monday or tonight?
You could. You have 60 days from the date she sent the written notice. So I believe the written notice went in on August 4th, and we calculated that 60 days to be October 3rd.
And if we do choose or to appoint somebody, then the night we appoint, they take the seat.
They could be sworn in that evening, and they would serve until December, until the term ends.
Okay, thank you.
That's my next question. If at the end of that 5 months, at the end of December, we don't have any write-ins, we don't have anybody who won the election normally, can then we reappoint from at large, or do we have to reappoint from within the district?
From within the district at that point, because it
Right.
would be a district-specific seat.
I see.
2 questions. One, since Maria is the incumbent, she will not be filing. Will the deadline for filing for this seat be extended by a week?
It will not. It will not because it's an at-large seat, so there is no incumbent
Very
under
good.
the statute.
And then if it does go to a situation where we have a write-in situation on the election, is there like a minimum number of votes that have to be cast for someone to be elected in a write-in election?
No, I don't believe so.
So I'm being absurd, of course, but 1 vote could elect somebody in a write-in.
Or if you got 3 people who all wrote themselves in, you could have a tie of 3 with just 1 vote.
Interesting. Okay. Any other questions of staff? Mr. Hammond?
More, and let's see if I can remember this. If we reappoint a person that we're going to, at the end of December, reappoint them, is that for 2 years or is that for a 4-year term?
Would be for a 4-year term
It would be for 4 years.
after the election.
So it's still on the same cycle.
It stays on the
4
same
years from
cycle.
now, we're still going to, the 3 that are up for election will still be on that, won't change.
No, we won't shift there. I don't believe so. It should still be a 4-year term.
Got it.
Any other questions from council? Okay. We'll open it to the public for question and comment. This is your opportunity to come forward. Please give us your name. We give you 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Martin and members of the City Council. My name is Ditas Esperanza. I reside in District Boundary Number 1. I have lived here in this wonderful city of Paso Robles for almost 30 years. I am here to encourage you to do the right thing. I've observed how you worked as a council these past few years, and you have always done the right thing. Not the easy thing sometimes, but most always you would do the right thing. What's the right thing? The right thing is to appoint someone to finish out Council Member Garcia's term of office. Yeah, you could just do nothing. After all, it's just a few months and the election will be here and the vacancy can be filled. I'd like to remind you that the whole reason the city adopted a districting format for city council representation was to prevent a lawsuit that we weren't doing enough to encourage minority community to serve on the council. Well, these past few years, the city has been fortunate to have a woman with a Spanish last name and a member of the Hispanic community, Maria Garcia. Council member Maria Garcia has served this city well, and I'm bummed that she has left. But I have talked to her of her decision. She assured me that she loves Paso Robles and will continue serving to make it a great city, albeit in a different capacity. So the spirit behind this districting is to encourage involvement to the council from the minority community. We've had a woman, Spanish last name, from the Hispanic community. Why not appoint someone along those same lines? A woman, Spanish last name, and of Filipino descent. My family immigrated to this country when I was 10 years old. At age 13, I stood amongst the crowd at the federal courts in Los Angeles. I raised my right hand and pledged my allegiance to the United States of America. I still remember that moment. I didn't really understand it, but a few months later, my mom gave me this paper with my picture on it. It looked really official, and it said on the top that I was a naturalized citizen of the United States of America. In conclusion, I urge you to do the right thing. Appoint someone to fulfill the vacancy that Maria Garcia vacated. And I'm encouraging you to appoint someone that's along the same vein. In the past, we've had a woman serve in the council, besides Maria. There was Betty Cousins. Then we had an African-American, Robert Parrish. And then recently, Maria Garcia from the Hispanic community. Why not replace her with someone who's a woman and of Filipino descent? I don't think anyone from the Filipino community have ever served in the city council. Here is an opportunity, so I hope you will appoint me, Didas Esperanza, a woman with Spanish last name, of Filipino descent, and a naturalized citizen of this United States of America. And oh, by the way, many years ago, a city employee ran for city council. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, the city attorney at that time, Iris Yang, opined that a current city employee can in fact serve in the city council. Mayor Martin, you might remember that moment. I can't remember who it was. But anyway, a city employee could serve, but of course, when the discussion is about compensation or employee benefits, that person would have to recuse themselves from those discussions. But in all other day-to-day activities of running the city, an employee can serve in the city council. I can step in pretty quickly and be able to contribute meaningfully in any discussions of the city government immediately. I can do it professionally, enthusiastically, with the same passion that I've had since I came here in the city in 1994. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Didas. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to speak? Do we have anyone online who would like to speak?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. We'll close public comment, bring it back to the council for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, if I can
Yes.
clarify one item before we proceed. Ms. Esperanza has made the assertion that a city employee may serve simultaneously on the city council. That is actually not accurate. Government Code Section 53227 specifically prohibits a current employee from serving on the city council. So if a current employee is to be appointed or elected, their employment is automatically by statute terminated.
Thank you for the information. Discussion? Mr. Gregory?
Just one comment. I was 15 standing in front of that judge in LA myself. So I appreciate what you've been through there, Didas. Thank you.
Argentinian, right?
Argentinian, yep.
Question. Can we maybe take this in sections? It sounds like the first question would be to know if we're going to reappoint or keep it vacant.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to decide which of the options that have been presented to us by the city attorney that we're most likely to take. And that right now is either appointment or leaving the position vacant, as I understand it. So, Mr. Gregory?
Yeah, I think that we should appoint somebody as soon as we can. And I would consider anybody for that appointment that could legally serve. But I want to put a really short time fuse on it. I've had a couple of people that want to receive notice that it's okay for them to appoint, and how do they go about it? So I'd totally be in favor of that. I like having somebody being able to help us get through this next 4 months while we wait for the election to finish. So that's my 2 cents.
I would weigh in equally. Again, I think time is of the essence if we're going to do that. I personally like to have a full board to discuss. It's just one more part of the Robles speaking here on the board, being represented. I think, I'm not sure time-wise how fast we could do it. So if that is the first question, if we're going to reappoint, I'll listen to the rest of you, but then we can get back into how we might want to do that.
Right. Councilman Strong?
Well, I agree that we have to fill the position. That's too long a period to leave vacant with only 4 people, for one thing. I would also remind us that it wasn't the districts that got Maria on the board because she served at large. She ran the truth in the whole city, which was wonderful. So the districts have done nothing in that regard. The other thing was that the entire thing of districting and all of the conversation about prejudice is to have a level playing field, to have equity, so that nobody is discriminated against. That means you don't favor or disfavor any particular group. So you look at qualifications regardless of what their sex is, or what their background is, or what their nationality is. It should be an equal level playing field for whatever candidates we have. The thing is, if we do have somebody running for District 2 specifically, and there's only one candidate, if that candidate qualifies, which we would know in a week, then that person would be taking the seat anyway in January. So I think it would be wise if we're going to set this maybe to put it off for that week, or if it takes time to actually validate the nomination paper, if that's what it is, maybe 2 weeks to have time in order to validate whether or not they qualify for the ballot. Because as I understand it, tell me if I'm wrong, if there's only one candidate that qualifies for the ballot, it's almost an automatic, isn't it?
Yeah, they would stay on the agenda, on the ballot, but presumably if there's only one candidate on there, that candidate would prevail.
Okay.
So I would agree. I think we need to appoint, and I agree with the point that we need to do it as expeditiously as possible. The procedure that we followed in the past for appointing to advisory committees, et cetera, is to interview people who are interested and then make an appointment from those interviewees. I would advocate that process. How quickly could we initiate and complete that effectively?
I think it just depends, Mr. Mayor, on how long you want to leave the nomination period open to give people an opportunity to be noticed and to return their applications. But we, as with this meeting, was within a week of our last, so I'm sure we could turn it around as quickly as council would like.
So I'm thinking, and please tell me if you disagree, I'm thinking that we should wait until the nomination period for the election closes, and then schedule interviews within the next week.
Following week.
So, Mr. Gregory.
So question, I want to make sure we don't conflict the two.
Yes.
In other words, I want an appointee to be working and not have to consider appointing a candidate until they're elected.
So basically, Friday is the closure for the nomination period. Then technically Monday we could, or sometime that week. We have council Tuesday night, tomorrow. So I think what we should maybe do is wait till Tuesday night, maybe have an agenda item on this where we can address or agendize a hearing where we can go through all the people who wish to be considered. Would that work?
It's at the council's pleasure for sure. However, I will tell you, we have a very packed agenda for Tuesday. So if you're thinking about doing interviews and all those as part of a regular session, I would.
No.
Okay.
No, I speak it out loud. I'm just saying if we were to close it on Friday and have nominations closed Tuesday, by the meeting date start time, then we could talk about it as an agenda item. We have 3, 4, whatever. We can figure Wednesday, Thursday of that following week.
We'd agendize the schedule for interviews and appointments.
We can do that.
Steve?
So that's what I was going to recommend. We do maybe set a date tonight for next week from Thursday, something like that to
Well, I think
interview.
what John is saying is we'd actually set that as an agenda item on Tuesday night. We'll set that date on
Once we
Tuesday.
know how many
But
we have.
to interview.
Right.
I'd go ahead and set up your interviews.
I'm sorry.
I'd set up your interviews for Thursday now, just set it in advance. We can
Yeah.
still do an agenda item, can't we?
We got a conflict then that Thursday night. We have a meeting in St. Louis.
Okay, hang on a sec. Fred?
Well, just for clarification, again, Melissa, how long would it take to actually validate signatures if we had a candidate that submitted a petition, a nomination papers?
I can't speak to the exact time frame from the county because it's the county that is verifying signatures. However, I would be submitting Friday evening if somebody turned them in Friday at 5. And it could be Monday or Tuesday, I would imagine. I'd say by end of business on Tuesday, we should know. But I'm not going to guarantee that because it's not me who has to do it.
No, I understand, but how many signatures does this involve?
Minimum 20 that meet the requirements. Typically, people look at getting about 30 to be sure that they have a little
So there aren't
overage.
that many to actually check, really.
No, but the first set that I sent out, it took them several days to
No, so
check.
it's a matter of whether or not the county clerk will cooperate.
Right, so the county's validating signatures for every city in the
Right,
county, so
sure.
it's not just ours.
No,
that's
I
being
understand,
submitted.
but they know if they understand our situation.
Well, that won't stop us technically from appointing a
No.
temporary.
No,
No.
that's
Mr.
true.
Lewis, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to make the council aware that a week from Thursday, we also have a community meeting on cannabis scheduled, so I would avoid that evening.
What time is that? 'Cause
Uh,
I didn't have that on here.
We're going to be starting, I believe, at 6 o'clock, but the news release and everything is expected to go out tomorrow. But we've tentatively placed a hold on the 18th for that meeting.
Yeah, we had that ACI thing.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, today is the 8th. Your application, the time period to run closes on the 12th. That's the day Melissa will submit. It looks like we would have verification by the 16th or 17th at the latest, we would
Wednesday,
think.
17th is wide open for me. I don't know about your guys' calendars, but we can, if you want to put a date,
Right.
that would be a good one.
Is that okay?
Yeah, so just for clarification, so we could go ahead and broadcast for appointments and have the interviews for next Wednesday, regardless of who gets,
Correct.
who applies.
So you would open the,
I'm going to put one more caveat in that there is a planned quarterly stock meeting scheduled for Wednesday evening. That's a supplemental sales tax oversight commission or committee meeting, sorry.
But we can also interview upstairs too.
We do the interviews upstairs.
that has to be in a public meeting.
Right. Anybody who wants to be
We can,
there.
it doesn't have to be in this room, but
Right.
it does have to be in an open public meeting by the whole council. So you would be opening, if I'm understanding, we'd be opening the application period 8 a.m. tomorrow morning and closing it on the 16th,
Tuesday.
the 16th, and then you would hold interviews
On
some
Wednesday.
point after that, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
And we
whatever
can take
works.
that action tonight without having to agendize it.
Yeah, we can set that schedule tonight based upon tonight's thing. The only caveat I would throw out there is when you do advisory board applications, you usually leave them open for 30 days. I understand you may not want to do that here, but the application period would be very short compared to your usual. Doesn't mean that's a problem with it, I just want to make sure everybody's aware.
Got it. Okay,
I would only say that in my case, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I have the same problem. Actually, no. Take back Wednesday. Monday and Friday.
okay.
So we could also do it on the 22nd, which is Monday, if next week's too crazy.
A week from
Because once you make the appointment,
Yeah.
they're on board.
You're going to have a problem right here.
Monday,
Yeah. So how about the Wednesday on?
Wednesday.
So
Or the 23rd?
Fred has a conflict on Monday. Can we do it Wednesday, that'd be what, the 24th?
Wednesday is the 24th, yes.
Yeah.
I'm good on that day too.
Okay, so do we need a motion for this?
I would love a motion.
Okay, we need a motion to go ahead and open the appointment process to fill this seat immediately, and then to schedule interviews for August the 24th.
Second that motion.
So the application period would then close on, say, the 22nd, so that we would have them all
Yes.
on the 22nd. We could,
So I'll second your motion, Steve.
Was that
In
my
order
motion?
to process an agenda for the meeting to do the interviews, we need more time than that to do the agenda. It takes a little bit. The agendas, the applications have to be redacted. There's just a lot
You're
of
right.
process involved.
so close on Friday the 19th.
I would say that's more
Does
reasonable.
that work?
Okay. So the motion is to go ahead and appoint to fill the position, open the application process immediately, to close the application process on August the 19th, and to have the interviews on the 24th.
Right.
That's my motion. Mr.
Second.
Gregory, seconds. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Martin,
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
and Councilmember Strong.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before you
Yes.
move on to the next item, is there any special direction you want to give us on what that application should consist of? Staff included in your packet the board application form. Is that the form that you want us to use, or is there any additional information you want us to see?
Well, pretty much like you outlined, to the end of current term, which is December 6th or so.
5th or 6th, whatever the
Right.
swearing in date is, yeah.
And then at large.
Right.
Anybody within our city limits, pretty much the criteria.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
So we'll just use the form that was provided and make clear that
They
limitations.
have to meet the minimum criteria for the, okay.
All good?
That's it.
Very good. Item number 2 is the reassignment of District 2 council member, board, committee, commission, and liaison appointments. I would recommend, because it is going to be a fairly short-term appointment, I'd be willing to go ahead and take over Councilwoman Garcia's committee assignments, with the exception of the downtown dining assignment, because I'm recused in the parklet issue.
I would say that Councilman Garcia and I had understandings, and I covered the housing authority when she couldn't, but I always covered the Main Street because she just generally couldn't, so she was hardly ever there. So I'm willing to continue with Main Street and the housing authority. The others I can be the
As the alternate.
alternate, yeah.
Okay. I'm fine with that, too. I was just trying to save
Yeah.
anybody else any extra
I'll
effort.
be happy to serve if we need to. Or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And with the housing authority, I served down it for 10
Steve would
years,
be
so I
conflicted,
know
wouldn't
them.
he?
For downtown stuff.
Right, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy. to
So with the exception of the dining subcommittee, housing, and Main Street, I'll take over the rest of the assignments. And I think we can just do that on a nod. Can't we? Okay, so business is taken care of with that respect.
That's good.
Do we have any further business for this evening? Mr. Lewis?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Upcoming events, Planning Commission meeting Tuesday, August the 9th, 6:30 p.m. Library Board of Trustees meeting will be Thursday, August the 11th at 9 a.m. We have Development Review Committee meeting Monday, August the 15th, 3:30 p.m. Our City Council meeting Tuesday, August the 16th, 6:30 p.m. And the Cannabis Workshop is going to be August the 18th at 6 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hammond.
I have one more question.
Yes.
As far as applications to this vacancy, they would apply just like they would normally with the form that we have online. I mean, it has everything is typical, or are you going to add some qualifications to that?
We can put something on the website as early as tomorrow with all that information, including the application form, as well as a press release or a media release after this meeting. We'll prepare that tomorrow with the instructions. So they'll have, or they can always call our city clerk and get that information as well.
Very good. If there's no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hammond, second by Councilman Gregory. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.